If you've ever felt safest at home when the world goes to sleep, this will change how you lock up. These are 3 true Home Alone accounts sent by people who learned that normal can turn on you. I verified timestamps, kept names out, and left their details intact so you can picture the steps between comfort and fear. Listen for the links that repeat. A door that won't sit right, a light that shouldn't be on, a voice that sounds almost familiar. By the end, you'll double-check the deadbolt without thinking. I moved into my first solo apartment in late October. A 3rd-floor walk-up over a bakery that smelled like sugar even at midnight. The street stayed quiet after 11 except for the route bus at 1:06 a.m., which thumped the pothole by the hydrant like a metronome for sleep. I kept a routine that felt like armor. 2 locks, chain slid, an app on my phone that showed the smart deadbolt was secure. I wasn't careless. I wasn't scared. That first week, I loved the silence like it was mine. On Thursday, I took a late shower after finishing a deadline. When I came back to my bedroom, my phone was face up on the dresser. The lock app showed a yellow banner I had never seen. Jam detected. Try again. I tried again and the banner became a spinning ring, then a second line. Inside thumb turn engaged. Someone had turned the knob from the other side of the door I had just walked through. My first thought was glitch. My second was that the chain was still on and I was being dramatic. Then I saw it. A shadow in the gap under my bedroom door. A soft scallop of darkness that stopped and grew still, as if someone had noticed the light on my phone. I turned my lamp off and stood where I was, breathing so quietly I heard the clock in the living room tick through the wall. I texted my downstairs neighbor Martina, who managed the bakery and kept strange hours. Are you home? Can you call me? The typing dots rose and fell, then a bubble. I'm icing cakes. What's up? Before I could explain without sounding crazy, the shadow moved again, away this time, and the tiny silver tongue of the chain at the front door tapped metal. Whoever was outside had tried it softly, as if rehearsing. I dialed 911 and whispered that my lock app showed movement and someone was at my door. The dispatcher asked if anyone should be inside. No. If I could lock myself in a room. I already was. She told me to stay put, keep the line open, and wait for officers. As we spoke, the bakery's walk-in condenser kicked on downstairs. A low, steady hum that made the hallway feel farther away. The next sound was soft paper. The slip of my mail slot easing open. A white square slid through and landed on the mat with the barest click. I stood on my toes and leaned to see down the narrow hall. In the weak wash from the living room, I could just make out a post-it note. 3 words in block letters. Please open up. I knew if I answered the mail slot or even touched the chain, I'd be exactly where they wanted me. So I stayed still and told the dispatcher what I saw. She kept me talking. Where are you now? Bedroom doorway. What do you hear? Nothing but the hum. Are there other exits? Fire escape in the kitchen casement window. Can you get to it quietly? Maybe. The shadow came back. It paused, heel to the baseboard, and then a whisper so soft I thought I imagined it slid through the door seam. My name. Not a question. A statement like practice. Only 3 people in the city knew my unit number and my full name. My boss, Martina, and the landlord, who always texted, never dropped by. Hearing my name there felt like ice pressed to my chest. The dispatcher said officers were turning onto my block. Blue flicker reached the far wall a moment later. A slow scrape passed down the door, like a fingernail across paint. The chain tongue tapped again, once patient. Then silence. The bakery condenser cut off. My ears rang in the sudden soft. When the knock came, it sounded official. 3 quick, 2 slow, and a voice identifying the precinct. I still asked for a badge at the peephole and called the dispatcher to confirm. Only then did I slide the chain and open to 2 uniforms and the wash from their cruisers. The mail slot note sat on the mat between us like a dare. They cleared the apartment, then the stairwell, then the roof. No one. On my doorframe, below eye level, one officer found a circle scraped into the paint the size of a dime, right where the latch seated. He said people carve that to learn how a lock throws. The smart locks log showed 2 failed manual attempts within 3 minutes of my shower ending. No other entries. No cameras in the hall had worked since a power surge last month. I slept at Martina's that night, all the bakery hum around us, and never loved noise so much. 2 winters earlier, I watched my parents' place while they were in Florida. It's a split level on a cul-de-sac where everyone knows who belongs. A storm had slicked the street quiet, and by 9 the whole block glowed blue from TV light. Around 10 the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. Through the peephole I saw no one, just the warped curve of our porch light and a wet cardboard box on the mat. A man's voice said, "Delivery," then said it again the exact same way, same breath, like a clip replaying. I asked who it was. The voice repeated, "Delivery." I didn't move. I told the door to leave it on the mat and I'd get it in the morning. The voice said, exactly the same way, "Delivery." No footsteps, no shuffle, just quiet snow hush and the furnace ticking once. I turned the porch camera on my phone and got a black square. The storm had iced the lens hours earlier. Through the peephole I watched the box. It was unmarked, taped twice, wet rings spreading where snow had melted. I asked for the name on the package. The voice said nothing new, just delivery. People who really need signatures say so like a person. I texted our neighbor across the street, Mr. Alonzo, retired paramedic with a porch cam that never sleeps. "You up?" My phone buzzed in less than 10 seconds. "I see your porch, no one there." He toggled his light twice in a neighborly code. In the peephole the wet cardboard didn't move, but a faint shadow slid across the edge of the glass, low, like a shoulder leaning into the frame. Whoever was out there knew where the peephole's blind spot lived. I told the dispatcher I had a possible scam, maybe a stage drop, and she kept me on the line. The bell rang again, too polite, and from the back of the house the slider made a soft knock as if a fingertip tested the glass. Front doorbell and back glass at the same time meant I wasn't imagining anything. It meant more than one person or one with a remote. I shouted through the wood that I was calling the police and they could leave the box. The voice answered with delivery again, the vowel stretched a hair on the second syllable exactly like before, like a clip on loop. In my head I saw a thumb on a phone screen, pressing play, watching the peephole. Blue washed the snow at the edges of the blinds. Mr. Alonzo texted, "Cars coming slow. I'll meet them." I stayed still and listened for the sound that would tell me which way fear had gone. What I heard was a scuff at the side window well and then nothing. The officers cleared the porch first, then the yard. When I finally opened the door to them, cold rushed in and sat on the rug like a guest. The box weighed almost nothing. Inside was a folded grocery sack and a flat piece of wood to keep its shape. In the snow, 2 sets of prints approached the porch, then split, one pacing by the picture window, one skirting along the side yard toward the deck. At the slider, the officer's light found a tiny felt pad stuck high on the frame where a glass cutter might rest without chipping. Beside the stoop was a dropped pocket speaker the size of a matchbox, half wedged into the snow. When the officer pressed its button, it said delivery in that exact same tone, too smooth for a cold night. They took prints from the box that came up as smears and a partial glove pattern. Mr. Alonzo poured salt across the porch so he could see any return tracks later. None appeared. The next day, the precinct sent a bulletin to the block about late-night delivery scams and distraction attempts. I left the box on the table for a week as a reminder that quiet is only safe when the people knocking want you safe too. The last story is mine. I don't share it much because the house isn't mine anymore and I don't like how it smelled. That winter I house sat for my aunt while she recovered at my cousin's place. A 1920s bungalow, creaky floors, a square attic hatch over the hallway between 2 small bedrooms. First night I set sticks in the sliders, checked every latch, clicked the deadbolt twice. Around midnight a slow metallic tap started, then stopped, somewhere near the hall. I stood under the hatch and watched dust turn in the warm air from the vent. The trim around the hatch was oddly clean. A thin bright line like fingers had brushed it recently. I told myself a painter did it. In the morning the bathroom mirror held a thumbprint at the edge that wasn't mine. Faced the shower waist high. I wiped it and felt the glass still warm. No one had a key except me and my uncle, and he was with my aunt. He said old houses breathe. I tried to believe him. That afternoon I found a candy wrapper tucked under the living room couch. Folded twice. Not mine. I vacuumed and pushed the couch tight to the wall. At 2 a.m., the tapping returned, not from the hatch now but from the bedroom vent. A tiny rhythmic scrape, like a fingernail tracing a screw head. I angled my phone light through the slats and saw a faint stripe where dust had been wiped clean by something narrow. Behind that, only deeper dark and the low hiss of heat. I locked the bathroom door and called 911 because I didn't want to be the person who explains a feeling after the fact. The dispatcher asked if I could get outside quietly. The back steps were glazed with ice, but the front was clear, and I could see the street in one glance from the kitchen. She told me to take my shoes and coat, unlock the deadbolt slowly, and walk, not run, to my car with the phone on speaker. I did that, legs stiff, mouth dry, eyes on the attic hatch as if it might flutter. From the car, I watched the front door and the dark second-floor windows until blue lights washed the street. 2 officers met me and cleared the rooms fast, then slowed at the hall. At the hatch they found fresh scuff marks, a sleeping bag on joists, bottles, and a peephole cut into the return duct that faced my vent. Waiting.